In this video, I try my hand at rye bread. I love real rye bread. I also give you a glimpse into the fall garden and harvest marigolds and other flowers where I make a wreath for the front door and also a marigold garland. So hope you join us here at Rock Run House. One of my favorite parts about making bread is the research and reading about bread, which sounds boring, but it's actually quite the opposite, especially if you don't have a direct teacher. You need to consult books. And one of my favorites is Living Bread by Daniel Leader. Another book I recently picked up is The Sourdough School by Vanessa Kimball. And she has quite a presence on Instagram if you want to check her out. So she has a recipe for Russian rye bread. And I thought I'd try Schwarzbrot. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that horribly, from the Living Bread book. Daniel Leader's recipe calls for several different elements. You have an old rye bread soaker, you have a rye starter, you have another kind of rye soaker, 4 different elements. And the idea is it imparts this really great depth of flavor. So I really went for it with that one. Here is the old rye bread soaker. You saw that. And here is the rye starter. I would love to add rye to the bread stand rotation, but honestly, I cannot imagine these German bakeries, how they track all these different elements, but I guess they've been doing it for hundreds of years, so they are way ahead of me. So I would probably need to pick a simpler recipe, but I'm going to keep trying to make this work, and we'll see how the bake process goes here. Here is the Schwarzbrot before it is rising, and here is the Russian rye bread before the final rise. And they're looking sort of good, so I was pretty optimistic. And here they are post-rise, ready to go in the oven, and they have this nice crackle on top of a little layer of rye flour, so I was pretty excited. Seems to be how it should look. So I was still feeling pretty optimistic, and here I go, put it into the oven and wishing it well on its journey. And now I take a little break while I wait for the bread to bake and just enjoy this beautiful candle that we sell here at Rock Run House. So I guess that's my commercial. So here I am looking at the picture, hoping it turns out this way. And here is the final product. No rise, really, or not enough. I let it spread too much, but the Schwarzbrot I was pretty happy with it. It kind of looked like it should. So I decided to cut into them. You're supposed to wait 24 hours, and I waited about 12. I did what I could. They don't look like much, but I thought the flavor was really good. Rye doesn't have a lot of gluten, so it's not going to get like super springy, but I know I could get more rise out of it than I did. And I will keep working on this because I'd love to really be able to produce a consistent rye. Our garden here in late September is still going strong. We have the sunflowers that I planted late, tons and tons of marigold, cosmos, zinnia, and celosia. So I plan to harvest some of these to dry and make some decorations for the bread stand in the house. I have several patches of marigold. Most of them were self-seeded. I don't even know if I planted any this year. I did move some around when they sprang up. I use them as beneficials and companion plants. And then I've just started to enjoy them for their own sake. I never used to like marigolds, but I do now. Maybe it's just a sign of getting older. I have no idea. Didn't take long before I got stung by a bumblebee. I thought I was doing this so late in the evening that the pollinators would be in bed, but I guess he was in bed. He was just in bed in a plant. So he was sleeping, and I stuck my hand on him. And here I am using plantain to stop the itching, and it's amazing how much it works. It's something I wish I would have known when I was 8 years old and getting stung. think even Ollie's getting sick of collecting marigolds at this point. Here is my bulb crate filled with some of the harvested items, and it's getting later and later, but I still had to get corn stalks, and I give Ollie an old corn cob to chew on because that's one of his favorite things to do. He's such a nice dog. He waits till I give it to him and does not take it from me. So I give him it as a reward for all his patience with this somewhat boring task for a dog. So I head back to the house with my supplies and settle in. Even though it's quite late, a little bit too dark, I decided to go ahead and make the wreath. And I started with the base of corn stalks, which actually I've never done, but I kind of like it. I am too lazy to go get floral wire, so I'm using yarn, which is a mistake. Here's a bumblebee that made its way into the house. Very drugged, very sleepy. Had my daughter take it outside, so it was not harmed. Here's the final product, a total mess, but actually I kind of like it. And here it is in the daytime. I might secure it with floral wire, but maybe not. Now I begin the more time-consuming task of making the marigold garland. I can't talk my daughter into helping me with this. I'm not sure why. I guess it just looks extremely boring to her. But it's actually a little bit soothing in the way this sort of work can be. So I've come to enjoy this. And like I said, maybe it will be an annual ritual that I do every fall. And I use it to decorate the bread stand, and I'll show you how it looks. And here is the final product, the marigold garland decorating the bread stand. So many joys of the season, including tomato soup and the perfect slice of bread. Burning the perfect candle, this one named Wheat Harvest, hand poured by a friend of mine for her candle line. Simple decorating like placing gourds along a mantle with a glimpse of the beauty outside. Thanks so much for watching. We look forward to having you back here at Rock Run House as we do more seasonal decorating, more baking, rehab projects, and everything else we have in store for you at Rock Run House.